This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by the Car Store's Auto World Service and Accessory Center.
Well, whether the vehicle you drive is brand new or several years old, something can go wrong at any time.
Yeah, either a warning light illuminates on the dashboard or you hear a weird noise. And oftentimes it could be just about anything. Brian Spires joins us with some things that we should be paying close attention to. Brian?
Well, Jimmy and Lisa, for many of us, when we see a light come on the dashboard or hear our car make a weird noise, we try to ignore it, hoping it will just go away. But the truth of the matter is ignoring it can be problematic.
At one point or another, through the life of your vehicle, you're bound to encounter some sort of issue. An issue that you may choose to ignore, hoping it will just go away.
Finances can oftentimes cause people to try to ignore something and wait until a more opportune time or convenient time to repair. But there are certain times when you should not ignore.
Brian Bishop works for Auto World Service and Accessories in Salisbury. He explains some key areas you should always keep a watchful eye on. First, the check engine light.
They're finally starting to break it out with the newer cars, but it's always been a frustration of mine that the check engine light basically was an indication of a lot of systems. It's your emission system, but it could also be some drivability issues like a miss in the engine. All sorts of things can trigger a check engine light. You'll know by the way it's running whether or not it's an issue. However, let's say you have an oxygen sensor that's running lean or you have some other code. You can actually damage some of your emissions components if you don't get it fixed.
So if the check engine light comes on, have someone look at it just to be safe. Brian says oftentimes it can be as simple as resetting a sensor. There's also the indication that you have low tire pressure.
Basically, I think the light comes on if there's like a 5-pound difference or a 3 or 4 pound difference between tires. You need to have your tires pressured properly. A, they last longer. B, it's easier to control the car. But it can be a little deceiving because sometimes those sensors are a little more sensitive than is necessary. But don't ignore it, because how hard is it just to pull an air hose out and fill up your tires?
Also, trust your instincts. You know your car better than anyone else. Brian says sometimes you won't get a warning that there's an issue. You'll just feel it or hear it. Case in point, a squealing noise from under the hood.
If the belt is loose, it'll usually squeal at idle and then it'll kind of disappear as you start to accelerate. But ultimately, though, what can happen is if you have a bearing going bad in a pulley or a tensioner, that can sound like a belt squeal. You don't think it's that big of a deal, but then if it breaks or seizes up, it can leave you stranded somewhere. Also, an alternator has a bearing sometimes that can cause this high-pitched squeal or squeaking noise, and that can be an expensive repair if you wait too long because it can leave you. So then you not only got an alternator, you got a tow bill and some other charges you have to take care of.
And here's something many of us have felt at one point or another, a vibration in our steering wheel. But what exactly does that mean?
It can happen because of brake rotors or drums. You usually get that vibration when you're braking. But it can also be because of a wheel imbalance, which can cause an issue in regards to actual control when you're driving the car and just overall comfort. It can also be you've got a slipped cord in the tire, which can cause a blowout or other issue with the tire. So if you feel a vibration or a shaking steering wheel, you probably should get it rectified.
Brian says there's a good rule of thumb when it comes to an unexpected issue with your vehicle.
I recommend treating your car like you treat yourself. You wake up, you feel kind of bad, you wait a while and see if it's just, what you did last night that's making you feel bad this morning, or is it just a cold and then you feel better in the afternoon. If it's persistent and you notice that the performance of the car is different and it's not something you've ever heard before, you need to get it checked out.
And getting it checked out from the start can save you time and aggravation down the road.
It's a whole lot cheaper just to have something looked at and realize it's not much than to assume it's not much, and then you're stuck with a huge bill.
There's also something else you should be paying close attention to, and for this you're going to want to get down low to the ground and look underneath your car. You want to make sure there are no leaks. Now, the color of the liquid will help a mechanic figure out where it's coming from. It could be anything from coolant, or transmission fluid, even an oil leak, so you definitely want to have it checked out. And while we're down this low to the car, let's talk tires. Here's a situation some of us may have been in before. You're driving down the road and boom, one of your tires blows. So instead of waiting for help to arrive, you decide to come open the trunk and fix it yourself, and you notice there's no spare tire inside. Well, in today's Angie's List report, we learn about a tire that lets you continue driving even after it's been punctured. But like anything else, there are pros and cons.
When it comes to the items you want to have in your vehicle, a spare tire is one of them.
For most, having a flat tire can be like their worst nightmare, especially if they're caught on the road when it happens. So being prepared and knowing exactly what you've got when you're out shopping for a car is going to be important. So don't be afraid to ask the dealer what comes with the car, how does it work.
But some auto manufacturers are saying farewell to the spare tire altogether. In an effort to increase fuel economy and trunk space, many new vehicle models are equipped with something called run flat tires. They're designed to resist the effects of deflation. Experts say they allow you to keep driving your vehicle even if your tire has been punctured.
A standard load tire cannot withstand zero pressure. It has to have pressure to keep the tire inflated. A run flat tire does not need any pressure for a short duration of time.
Some people have turned to run flat tires for convenience and safety. Landon Toll used to drive a car that had these tires. He says he never experienced a flat tire. However, he eventually had to replace the run flat tires, which cost about a third more than traditional tires.
I had the car for about 3 years and drove it 32,000 miles about. And in that time, I replaced the rear tires twice and the front tires once. In total, the 3 years that I had the car, I spent a little over $2,300 just on tires alone.
In addition to being more expensive, experts say run flat tires also result in a harder drive.
A run flat tire ride much stiffer. You don't get much of a cushion in there. The standard load tire will run nice and quiet, and a run flat tire run a little bit stiff. It just depends on what kind of ride you are looking for.
The ride was definitely stiffer with the run flat tires. Every bump that you would hit, you would feel a little bit more, and there were times where I would be kind of scouting ahead, looking for potholes, trying to kind of slalom around and avoid them.
Experts also add that some run flat tires can be repaired if punctured, while others cannot. It depends on the manufacturer.
Now, these run flat tires can't stay on your car forever once they've been punctured. They're only meant to be driven at slower speeds for roughly about 50 miles or so. So a lot of great stuff to keep in mind when it comes to your vehicle. And with that said, Jimmy and Lisa, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Wow, a lot of good information.
And you know what? I will take 50 miles over walking any day. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Well, from taking care of your car to taking care of something else that probably means a lot to you, your silver. Is yours a disaster? Well, up next, we're going to take the Speedy plate tarnish remover and put it to the test to see if it really is the easiest, fastest, and most effective way to clean all of your gold, sterling, silver plate, brass, and copper.
And once we see how well that holds up, we'll head to the kitchen to see how well Captain Willie Dykes and Andrew Taws hold up. We're going head-to-head in a 5-minute recipe challenge.
Oh, yeah. And while we're having fun with food, Rachel Ray will have a handy how-to tip for the practical potato. Now, you're not going to believe what the vegetable is capable of. Don't Marvel Life. We'll be right back.